Rabbits and deer, rabbits and deer, rabbits and deer. I certainly engage the public on a number of topics as their mayor. But one of the topics that comes up time and time again in the city of Sioux Falls involve rabbits and deer. Because of that, I had gone to the police team, of course, led by Chief Barthel, and I had asked, in probably no uncertain terms, whether we could put together an aggressive plan of action to address what I feel and what others have told me is a growing deer problem in our city. And ultimately, the chief and others started to work towards that process. Well, part of that process involved working with the Game Fish and Parks Department. And we ultimately set up a conference call with a number of really solid folks with the GF&P, as well as others here in the city of Sioux Falls. And we talked through how can we address this issue here in the city of Sioux Falls. Interestingly enough, Sioux Falls is not alone when it comes to managing wildlife or managing deer within the core of their town. And we learned that not only that day, but in days following. The Game Fish and Parks, they said, yes, we will certainly work with the city of Sioux Falls to help you address these topics. But one of the things that they encouraged us to do was to include the public along the journey, make them part of the solution as well. And we are definitely heeding their advice. Again, I just wanted to commend the Game Fish and Parks. They are working with us on the solution. They do have a process that ultimately does work. And ultimately, I will let the media know, and as well as the people of Sioux Falls know, that the Game Fish and Parks are actually trying to work with us in an even more diligent fashion so that we can get this done even quicker, so that we can ultimately serve the people of Sioux Falls in a more efficient and productive and ultimately safer way. To outline that process and outline our plan, I do have Chief Doug Barthel, and he'll try to engage us as best he can. Chief, thank you.
Well, thanks, Mayor. As the Mayor said, there has been a growing concern with the number of deer in our city, and for several reasons. Actually, if you just look at vehicle damage alone, in 2013 we had just under $200,000 worth of vehicle damage from vehicles that collided with deer just within the city limits of Sioux Falls. And that's in addition as to the other damage that people might see to plants and the landscaping, those sort of things. But we know we can't totally eliminate the deer population. That's not our goal here. We're looking for basically a point that where we have a socially acceptable level of deer population that people are able to tolerate, and that's also good for the deer population as well. Our main area of concentration where we're dealing with deer in the city is the northeast part of the city and also the southern part of the city, which you can see on the map here. As you may recall, the northeast part of the city several years ago, due to the large number of deer up there, we, along with cooperation of the Game Fish and Parks, created a special hunting zone up there where people are able to bow hunt the deer in that area. It's a much more rural, open area, and with the cooperation of several of the landowners up there, it's been a very successful program. So our effort today and moving forward for this part of it doesn't deal with the northeast part, it's going to deal with the southern part of the city. We did a non-scientific deer count in June of this year. On one day when we went out along with some of our staff and Game Fish and Parks staff assisting, we counted 32 deer one day in this area, and the next day there were 42 deer. Now we do know that it's the spring of the year, deer start to split up, and some of them actually may move out of the city during that time of the year. We plan to do another count in October and certainly expect those numbers to rise. Just anecdotally from information that we've received from people and from our observations, especially during the winter months when we know the deer group up, the numbers are usually much larger. So we've got a proposal to address these concerns, there are several steps that we want to go through. So the first one that we want to do is we have drafted a ordinance that we're bringing to the city council that will ban the feeding of deer within the city limits. We plan to meet with the land use committee on September 16th and ultimately explain that process to them and hopefully gain their support because we know if we're going to manage the deer, if we continue to feed them, it's going to just compound the problem. So that's the first step. Our second step is something that we've been currently doing, we plan to continue to do, and that's just public education. There are ways that you can control deer yourself, be it through special plantings, fencing, those sort of things, and of course not feeding the deer. And probably one of the most important pieces, and the mayor touched on this, is gauging the public's perception on the problem. And ultimately their support. So to do that, the area that we've outlined, we've identified about 9,000 residents that live in that area, and we plan to be mailing out a postcard that's going to have information about our steps going forward. And in addition to that, there will be a link on there that they can go to the police department's website, and there's a short survey that we would ask them to fill out. And it's just going to give us an indication, first off, if they have a deer problem, and if they do, what's their support of going forward, whether or not we do any steps to even eliminate that. In addition to the people that live in this area, everyone will be able to take that survey. So it's going to be available on the website. For those that don't have computer access, there will be a paper version available at all of the public libraries where you can fill out the survey and then actually just leave it there when you're done. So also, you're going to find on our website a copy of our deer management plan. This is our proposed plan, so they can read through that. And along with that, there will be a copy of our proposed ordinance change for the banning of feeding of the deer. So our hope is the survey is going to help us determine the extent of the problem and also gauge the public's opinion as we go forward. We also want to make sure that we allow the public a good opportunity to engage us, our staff, along with Game Fish and Parks, and gather some input from them as well. So we've scheduled 2 public meetings coming up in September, where we'll be meeting at the outdoor campus, Game Fish and Parks offices at Sertoma Park. The first of those meetings will be on September 10th, and the second one will be September 17th. Both of those will take place at 7 o'clock in the evening. So anyone that has concerns or just wants to learn more about the program, I'd encourage them to attend one of those. So after we go through all of this process, and if in the end we determine that there truly is a problem that the public wants us to address, we then ultimately have to gain the support of the Game Fish and Parks. So it will take state approval if there's going to be any sort of a reduction in the herd, and they're the ones that would actually issue permits that they would give to us and determine ultimately what that number is going to be. I know there might be some that think, well, perhaps we should open this up to bow hunting, allow the public to hunt it just like we do in the northeast part of the city. It's just, frankly, too much of a residential area. It's just not going to be a safe situation to allow that. So the only way that if we do decide to, in the end, reduce the herd, it'll just be with trained police officers, and it'll be our staff that'll be ultimately doing that. And if those are the steps that we ultimately take and we do actually harvest deer, we have a plan in place where the deer will be processed and all the meat will be donated to the needy. None of it would go to waste, and it certainly would go to a good use. So those are our steps and our plan as we go forward. I also have Julie DeYoung from the Game Fish and Parks office is here to answer any questions.
The right number is a difficult number to pin down. There's no way you can actually say, well, this is the right number. I think it's a socially acceptable number, and once we determine how much damage there actually is out in this area, we'll be able to get a better idea of what the right number is. And with only doing one survey so far, we don't have an exact number of how many deer are out there. We'll have a better idea of that in October when we do the study. We typically, with the Game Fish and Parks, go out in October and do our regular deer surveys. because it is the most effective time to be out finding deer. So we'll do that in October. We'll assist the city with those surveys and help to establish a population size at that time, or a population estimate. And from that, and determining what the surveys come back with, we'll see if the population is acceptable or not.